Hello and welcome to Why with Simon Miller, here live on a Thursday at 1 p.m. BST. Thank you very much to everybody joining me live at youtube.com/Miller Report Rules. And if you are listening on the audio version, why not come along and subscribe to the channel? And if you've just stumbled across this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like the video, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SimonMiller316. I'm able to do this thanks to patreon.com/Simon316. Just go give me $1. Why not? $1 ain't going to miss the dollar. Maybe you will. If you will, don't do it. It's up to you. And if you're into my wrestling stuff, you can check out my wrestling stuff at Big Cartel. No, SimonMiller.BigCartel.com. Can you believe it? In around about a couple of weeks, few weeks' time, so I'm a bit early, but I wanted to talk about it today. It is going to be 50 years since the human race, since mankind landed on the moon. Think of that. 50 years. 1969, we sent a rocket up to space, and, it's kind of, what JFK said. JFK was going to, at the start of his presidency, at the start of the 60s, he just said, within a decade, I am going to put a man on the moon. That's what he said. That was his his only plan, but that's one of the things he does. It launched the space race between Russia and America. As we know, America got up there first. There's a movie coming out about it. It's called Apollo 11. It's more of a documentary. I don't know whether you saw, what was it called? First Man, with that actor from The Notebook that I can't remember the name of. That dude. We'll just call him that dude. He's got that serial meme about him. I know his name. I just can't remember it. But it's a good film, that, whereas this one's a proper documentary, follows Neil Armstrong as opposed to being a biopic about Neil Armstrong. And look, going to the moon was a pretty big deal. I think whether or not it was worth it or not is going to come down to you. I can't sit here and say that you're going to have loved the fact we went to the moon. I can't sit here and say that you're going to hate the fact we're going to the moon. It'd be a very strange conversation to have, so I'm not going to do it. You can't make me. However, I should also say as well, if you are on YouTube, make sure you use that super chat, little $sign beneath the chat, and you can ask and say whatever you want, and I'll read it out. That's how YouTube works these days. If it's really morally offensive, I won't. When I will, but we'll make sure people know. Well, no, there's some things I just wouldn't say. You know what I'm saying? You can use the super chat, and we'll talk about it. Ryan Gosling, that's his name. Ryan Gosling. But yeah, so I thought, what a great time to talk about some of my favorite conspiracies that have come up on the internet. Of course, the big one is the one with the moon landing. I don't know if that's where conspiracy theory started. Of course it's not. There's been loads before it. But there is this idea that America knew that they were never going to be able to get to the moon, that Russia were going to beat them to it. So they came up with this grand idea that they were just going to film the whole thing in a studio. And, that's a good point. Ibenine, the super chat, has just somehow the yellow on my of course it's a yellow background. I'm wearing a yellow top. I'm Iron Man. You can see through my top, as Ibenine says. I can see through your chest. Not very good for the audio people listening. Basically, I've worn a Jurassic Park top today. It has a yellow circle on it. The background on YouTube is yellow, so now I'm just a hole. It's good. Something different. Something fun. But yeah, like it's what a thing to come up with, because there's just too much that can go wrong. There is too much that can go wrong with coming up. And look, in the chat, here's what I want you to do. In the chat, I want you to let me know whether or not you think the moon landing was fake or not. And don't joke around. Be honest. Do you genuinely think the moon landing was fake? Quick shout out to Ben Greenwood in the super chat, who said, unrelated, just an update to your AMA last week. I got over my gym intimidation and have been 4 times since, thanks to your words. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Ben Greenwood. We did do a Q&A last week, so it's not unrelated at all. It's part of the episodic structure of this show. I did nothing, my friend. You did it all. I maybe gave you some encouraging words, but it's up to you to take them on board and make it happen. So I tip my hat to you, my friend, even though I'm not wearing a hat, and I don't because I've got a big head and they hurt my hats. But that's awesome, dude. And that's it now. Once you've bedded in, you bedded in. Always face your fears, and your brain will do the rest. That is awesome, though. But I think just take a step back. I mean, the big thing for me is all the information that's out there and the quote-unquote evidence isn't real evidence. There is nothing out there to suggest that the moon landing was faked, other than a few people on the internet like we're doing now going, oh, maybe it was filmed in a studio. And oh, look, when he puts the flag in the... Something like, when he puts the flag in the moon, you can see it blowing in the wind. And there's no wind up on space. Which to me... Just look, you believe what you believe, and I respect it, but I also think it's crazy. You sound nuts. Nathan Ormsby in the super chat says it's real, but why haven't we been back? That is the real conspiracy. Well, I think because we went up there and realized there's nothing there. This, I think that was the problem. The problem was it's just a bunch of rocks. I'm just going to move my camera a little bit because I realize it makes me look like I'm about 2 foot tall at the moment. Yeah, there was just nothing there. I think that was the problem. I think we got some moon rocks and we were like, oh, cool, man. Moon rocks. And we played some golf and it was like, ah, sweet. Playing golf on the moon. But then it was like, why did we come here? Why did we spend billions of space dollars on... Well, now I've screwed it up. Now I need to move my chair down. It's not going well today, is it? In terms of the production values of why we're Simon Miller. But I think that's what it is. I think we realized we spent billions of dollars. Don't forget it. I don't want to get into politics too much. But the space race was also embedded in the Cold War. That's what it was. Russia and America were at such odds with each other following World War II and, communism versus capitalism or whatever, however you want to put it, that they were desperate to get one over each other, regardless how they could do it. And the space race tied into that, and it tied into that quite extremely. So it was almost like getting one up over the other. They thought we can spend all this money just so we say we beat Russia to get to this landmark point. And I guess it's a fair point because, again, here we are 50 years later and we're still talking about it. We all know who Neil Armstrong is. We all know who Buzz Aldrin is. No one remembers the third guy because screw him. Poor guy. It's like the bassist in Queen. Some people don't even know there is a bassist in Queen, referring to the band. Jeffrey Pridemont in the super chat, hand on heart, says, Jeff Foxworthy once said, I had an uncle who swore to the day he died that the moon landing was fake and pro wrestling is real. I say it was legit. I like that guy anyway. That's awesome. Pro wrestling is real, man. Nothing more real than pro wrestling. But... yeah, that's what it all tied into. So to me, to try and fake a moon landing by doing it in a studio, it would have got out by now. Like, let's say, to put on something like that, let's say you need at least 20 people, and you need a lot more, but we'll be conservative here. Let's say you need at least 20 people to make that work. Are you trying to tell me not one of them either got pissed off during the production, or had some bad blood, had some heat, didn't like the director, whatever, and thought, I'm going to leak this? Not one person has ever talked about it. Now, you can say, well, maybe the government said they would kill them. But can you imagine? It doesn't matter. If you really want to talk about it and you came out and you said, look, the moon landing was real. Also, the government's now going to kill me. And if that guy then dies, everyone's going to go, moon landing was definitely fake. I don't think it was fake. I'm pretty sure it was real. I just don't think anybody would go to those lengths. It's too, look, if you're going to come up with a thing like that, if you're going to come up with a lie, you gotta make sure. It's like any kind of lie. If you tell someone, say there's two friends that you don't want to see, right? You just want to sit at home and eat pizza and stuff your face full of cheese. Let's call them Bill and Bob, right? And you tell Bill, oh, I'm going to the gym. And you tell Bob, oh, I'm going to the cinema. That's a bad lie. Because if Bill and Bob talk to each other, even if you don't think they know each other, that will expose you. Because they'll go, oh, Miller said he was going to the gym, but Miller told me he was going to the cinema. You're out. You're dead. The lie is ruined. You've got to have a concrete lie. And I'm talking about shitty Bill and shitty Bob and shitty me. I'm not talking about the president and the government of the United States of America. There's no way. I just can't. But I can't. There's in no way can I fathom it. I respect people if you do think that, but I personally need more proof. I need more evidence. Timothy Jones in the super chat. I'll have you know, John Deacon is an extraordinary bassist. Hey man, I didn't say he wasn't a good bassist. I'm just saying so many times in my life, because I'm a nerd and a horrible person, I have said to people, name the bassist of Queen, and they look at you like, It's like, you say, name anybody in the Killers other than Brandon Flowers. Which is kind of cool, right? Because when it comes to bands, it depends how you look at it. I mean, some people will think, if you're in a band, you must be the most... Maybe they're looking for fame, not necessarily. But you take Guns N' Roses, right? If you're a hardcore Guns N' Roses fan, you know Axl Rose, you know Slash, you probably know, was it Duff or Duffy? See, I'm not a big Guns N' Roses guy. But then there are other people in that band, like the drummer. I know the hardcore fans know, but you can say to most people on the street, Guns N' Roses, they go, I know that band. They got the guy in the hat from Stoke wearing it. But they couldn't name it, whereas, pop, I know it's different because it's a pop star. But I'm just saying there are massive bands that you can't even name, like the Police. Now, a lot of people, you can Google this, but name the two other people in the Police that aren't Sting. Name the bassist of Nirvana. It's a really fun game. I know that some people do know this information, but just randomly ask these questions to people. It's really fun. And you'll watch them melt. Do the Nirvana. You get all these people, I'm such a big Nirvana fan. Oh, I love Nirvana. Who's the bassist? Just go quiet. Nobody knows. Some so-called Nirvana fans don't even know that Dave Grohl was the drummer. They don't know that. I've tried it. I've tested them. You don't have to know that stuff. I respect it, but it's the way that you make it. I'm the biggest Nirvana fan ever. I never understand that. Why does anybody have to be the biggest fan ever? Why is that the hill that you want to die on? I am the insert your favorite thing here. The biggest fan of that. Why can't you just be a fan and enjoy it for you? Why do you have to try and take your fandom and destroy other people's fandom? Because all you're doing is setting yourself up for a fall. Because if you're saying you're the biggest fan ever, you have to know every single piece of information about that band. When they were formed, who they first supported, their original lineup, the people they went through before they got to the one that made them famous, all their albums, the song titles, the order of the albums. You just don't need that. You don't need that. My man Muma Blazovic in the super chat says, love you, Simon. What do you think about 9/11? Being fake theory. Buildings collapse like when professionals destroy them. When the top is hit, the building doesn't collapse. Again, much like a lot of this one is a bit more serious. It wasn't on my list for that reason, but we can talk about it as we said. I like a lot of conspiracy theories that we are going to go through today. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, including the moon landing. So this is 8. There, in no way, even if it turned out I was wrong, which I don't think I am in any sense, there is no way I would ever want to accept a world where that was a conspiracy and the US government blew up their own buildings to start a war. I don't want to live in that world. I don't want to think about living in that world. So I'm just not going to live in that world. But no, I don't believe that at all. I've watched a couple of those videos because YouTube loves throwing them at you, and every now and then you're like, meh, I'll watch. And I always come away just shaking my head like it's not. Who actually knows what would happen if you flew a plane into a building? I know we have science and physics and other things that we can argue, but that doesn't equate to a plane being thrown into a building, which really to this day, I was talking to someone about this the other day, really the two crazy things like that have stuck with me my entire life are Princess Diana being killed and the 9/11 attacks. And obviously we're coming up to 20 years since 9/11 in a couple of years. And it still doesn't feel real. And every time I see those images, I still can't believe it. So yeah, in no way can I ever accept it wasn't just the intent of some very evil people to do some very horrible things. Timothy Jones in Super Chat, how do you feel about the Benoit conspiracy? There's lots of... We're talking about Chris Benoit, the wrestler, if you happen to listen to Not No Wrestling. There's so many. Do you mean the one about how Kevin Sullivan killed him? Or there's one with all the Wikipedia stuff. Look, I have done a lot of reading and a lot of listening about the Benoit stuff because obviously being entrenched as wrestling as I am, I guess I tried to find a way to not justify it because it's unjustifiable. It's one of the worst. It is the worst thing to ever happen in top 2 worst things to ever happen in pro wrestling. And I just wanted to try and learn as much about it as I could. And the more information you hear about it, the worse it gets. I don't believe in anything like that. For what it's worth, as we're here, as I get asked this question all the time, no, I don't think he should go into the Hall of Fame, regardless what it was, CTE, brain, whatever. The point is he still killed his wife and his child. That's more important than pro wrestling. It just is. Vault 101 says, hey Simon, in the super chat, thoughts on the ridiculous phenomenon known as the flat earth? I don't know why there is such a cult following for it. I can't understand it. Well, my friend, we'll move down to number 5 that's on my list. We'll do some jumping. Number 4, that just says, the earth is flat. So this one came to me. There's a wrestler called Jeff Cobb, and he did an interview the other day with someone or other, and he mentioned that he may believe that the earth is flat because, in his words, he's never been to space. So he is just taking the word of other people. Now, that's not a great way to live your life. That's like someone saying, don't go to war, you may get killed. And you'd be like, I'm going to go war because I've never seen myself get killed, so I'll give it a go. No, it's a bad way to live. I don't understand flat earthers. Once again, if you think the earth is flat, I ain't going to crap on your parade. If it makes you happy and you think you can roll right forever until you just fall off the edge of the world, good for you. And I would suppose that it started from this idea that if the world is round, how do you get to the other side? Now, that makes no sense, but this is the only thing I can think of. Because if something is flat, you can walk from A to B, but I guess they don't understand atmosphere or how oxygen and air works. Not oxygen, but how air works. And it's a crazy theory. It's a crazy theory that we live on a flat earth because we have pictures and we've had live feeds. Because if the earth is flat and there is a conspiracy theory to make everybody think that it's round, it means every time we do anything on space, that Red Bull guy, right, a few years ago that jumped out of basically a spaceship in the Earth's orbit, they had to fake all that because you could see the round earth. There's just so much evidence, not even circumstantial evidence, real proof, real pictures. I don't understand how anybody can think the earth was flat. Other than the occasional whimsical thought when you go, it would make more sense. Yeah, it would make more sense, but nothing about the world makes sense. Nothing about life makes sense. How am I chatting to you right now, wherever you are across the world, from my flat? Explain that. Explain that to me. It doesn't make any sense. This shouldn't be a thing. I have pushed a button, and now I'm able to broadcast myself all over the world. Even 10 years ago, you would have needed a big setup to do it. You still need a little bit of equipment, but not like this. So we should start embracing the craziness and stop worrying about, the world is flat. The world is round. Of course it's round. I can't explain it. This is the problem with conspiracy theories. Some of them are so nuts, it's hard to even come up with an alternative or a conversation, because you're like, I don't know what they're talking about. Tom Talks Rubbish in the super chat says, no question, just some love. Appreciate that, Tom. That's good of you. And I always see your name as well, so thank you very much. And my man, Emil Bov... Oh, my gosh, what a name. Emil Bovjerg? That's definitely not your name. Bovjerg? I'm sorry, bro. I'll call you Emil. I'm a bad person. He said, here, have some Danish kroner for me. Feeling guilty that I bumped down my Patreon pledge some months back. Emil, I remember you. We did a podcast together. I thought it was you, but I didn't want to presume. That's all good, dude. Anyone that can join the Patreon, I appreciate, but I understand sometimes life not necessarily gets in the way, but that you need to put life first. So don't worry about it. I just appreciate the support. I appreciate all the support from patrons. Thank you very much. It's why I'm able to do this right now on a Thursday afternoon. So yeah, you get a nod of a head from me. This is one that not a lot of people talk about a lot, because it is just so preposterous, but it's one that I read and I'm like, this is hilarious. So there is an idea. I'm just going to read it because I got all the details here. That the Beatles were a fake band, and what they would do is that every now and then, I know there's the Paul McCartney is dead theory, but that's far more popular than this one. It was the Beatles are a fake band, and that every few years they would be replaced by similar-looking actors to continue on the charade, and everything was just built from the ground up by powerful music executives. There was so many issues with that, because what happened at the time when the Beatles were so sick of touring, because everyone just get meh, meh, and the women were screaming, they couldn't even hear themselves play, and they decided, we're not going to tour anymore, we're just going to lock ourselves in a studio, do a load of drugs, and make all these crazy songs. Who made that decision? Because that doesn't benefit record producers or executives. It doesn't even really necessarily benefit those in the band. So where that one came from, I don't know. That has to be somebody high on LSD listening to the Beatles and just going crazy on a Reddit message board, and then somehow it gets picked up and everyone goes, that does make sense. Quick shout out to Polar Nige on the super chat. He said, once had a piss next to you at a WCPW event. I'm glad you remembered that, Polar. I like to think that every day when you're having a piss, you think back to that time we had a piss next to each other. No one can ever take that away from you. We'll always have that moment where we piss next to each other. And I think that's something that will join us at the heart forever. But yeah, I would love to talk to someone that believes this, because I have so many questions. And what happened to John Lennon? That's a poor actor. Sorry, John, your role now in the band is to be shot. And you'd be like, wait a minute, what? Yes, we're going to shoot you because we think that it would make for some good headlines. You'd be like, I really don't want to be shot. Like, I'd really rather not be shot. I'm like, nah, mate, sorry, that's your lot. That's what we have you down for. And you're like, okay. And what about Ringo Starr? Yeah, Ringo, you're never allowed to do anything once you leave the Beatles other than voice Thomas the Tank Engine. You can voice Thomas the Tank Engine, but you can't do anything else. George Harrison, man, we're going to give you a disease and kill you off. And Paul McCartney's like, what do I do? You're just going to be like the one surviving member everybody cares about. Well, not surviving member, but the one member left because Ringo's still alive. Barely. No, I didn't mean that. I take it back. Retract the statement. So that's a bit. We'll move on. This one, I never heard about this one till today when I did some research. Apparently, some people think Barack Obama could control the weather, and he did so every time there was a White House scandal. Now, you remember, during Barack Obama's time in charge, there were a lot of hurricanes and tsunamis and things like that that did really, really lay waste to... It was really bad, some of them. I think Katrina happened during his time. That's the most famous one, but there were more anyway. What? He's not Storm from the X-Men. And why is Barack Obama the only president that's able to control the weather? That's my second question. Why has Barack Obama been bestowed upon this power? Is it Barack Obama, or is it the fact that when you become president, you can control the weather? Because if so, Donald Trump's doing a terrible job of that so far. I mean, someone needs to explain to Donald Trump what climate change is. It's not, you're in charge of the weather. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I don't get that. That one, honestly, I stared at it for ages, being like, yeah, like that. What does he do? He snaps his fingers and the clouds start raining. I mean, when it's sunny, does that mean we have to thank Obama for the weather? So strange. The internet is a crap. We need to shut the internet down, apart from my streams. Everything else, though. Jeffrey Pridemore in the super chat says, a friend of mine once told me a conspiracy that Andre the Giant is alive and hiding from the French mafia in Florida. I had to shut him down. Anyone that dies before or dies in their prime is still alive. There's conspiracy things about Elvis, conspiracy theories about Tupac, conspiracy theories about Michael Jackson, Hitler. He comes up all the time. Andre the Giant. Like, if you go down before you're meant to go down, or how because life is crazy, you never know what's going to happen, but before you're deemed to go down, you're still alive, and you're living in a farmer's place. Has there actually ever been a celebrity that, I'm sure there has been, but the fact that we know meant they failed? So what celebrity tried to kill themselves, but then got found out? And if there are none, I think that's probably because a lot of them are dead. Just my idea. Tom Talks Rubbish in the super chat gives us an update about his love letter last week, and of course, go listen to that episode if you didn't hear. He says the love letter went great. Thanks for the advice. Look at that, Miller being a regular relationship advisor here on Why with Simon Miller. You're damn right. Look at that. We're bringing people together. I love it. Number 4 was the Earth is flat. We've done that. Number 5 is my favorite one. This is my favorite conspiracy theory ever. I heard about this a few years ago when I was doing a list for What Culture. I thought I was being trolled, so I double check it. I'm not. It's out there. The conspiracy theory is the reason the Second Gulf War happened is that Saddam Hussein, and you can look this up now as you go if you think I'm lying, Saddam Hussein had a Stargate, and yes, I'm referring to the movie from the 90s that had Kirk Russell in it. The movie, the fake movie, Saddam Hussein had one of these, and he was about to use it to let alien forces onto planet Earth to attack America, and that is why the Second Gulf War happened. They had to go and take his Stargate. I'm just going to let you think about that for a little bit. A Stargate. Do you remember the guy with the weird, what was his name? He did the voice of Kratos. Christopher something. Christopher Judge. Christopher Judge. He was in Stargate, the TV series. James Spade, I believe, was in the movie. Obviously, Kirk Russell was in it. Saddam Hussein had one. Where he got it from, I don't know. Maybe he had a replica. And Americans and whoever else was involved in the Second Gulf War decided to go to the war, went, oh no, maybe it's real. We can't risk it. We better get in there. Saddam Hussein did not have a Stargate. And for an update to anybody that thinks that a Stargate is real, it's not. It's not real. It's fake. That one is amazing. That one is one of the best, because not only does it involve Stargate, which is something that's made up by Hollywood executives or producers, it also involves aliens. We just jump from Stargate to aliens. Stargate wasn't even that good of a movie. The TV series was far more successful than the movie. I don't even know how he got a TV series at the back of it. And James Spade wasn't in it, so they got a James Spade lookalike. I think it was James Spade. I could be wrong. But that is why, why pick that movie? Why not say that he's got one of those flashy pens from Men in Black? That was around the same time. Or that, I don't know. Oh, there were so many. I can't even think of any sort of movies like that. Or Last Action Hero. He can jump into the cinema and he's going to take over our movies. Why a Stargate? The Stargate of everything we just talked about is the most unrealistic one. I've got a gateway to a different world and I'm going to use it. And the aliens are going to come. And why are the aliens going to just agree with Saddam Hussein? Hello, I'm Saddam Hussein. Will you attack this global power for me? Yeah, mate, sure. Why? What does Saddam Hussein offer them? I'll give you riches and power. We don't know what riches and power are. Why not? Because we're aliens. And we know nothing about this world. Give us some alien snacks. And then Saddam Hussein is going to be like, yeah, but I don't have any alien snacks because I've only just met you. That relationship is doomed from the start. We did not need to have the Second Gulf War if we were trying to, get the Stargate. It was a waste of all our time. It was a waste of government money. It was a waste of anything. So someone in the chat said, but what if he did have a Stargate? Well, if we did, we smashed it. We killed him, and we probably have the Stargate in a warehouse somewhere. Someone thought I missed 2 and 3. No, we haven't. Number 1 is the moon landing. Number 2 is the Beatles. Number 3 is Barack Obama. Number 4 is the Earth is flat. Number 5 is Saddam Hussein. We also addressed Chris Benoit, Hitler, Michael Jackson, and 9/11. And the next one is that Jay-Z is a traveling vampire. Now, this is based on a picture that's taken in 1939. Type it in now, Jay-Z Vampire 1939, from a dude in New York in 1939, which obviously was a long time ago, was 80 years, that looks like Jay-Z. And these are why I find conspiracy theories so funny and so fascinating. That somebody can extrapolate that from looking at a picture going, that dude looks like Jay-Z. Maybe Juicy's been alive since 1939, despite the fact he has a birth certificate and you can see pictures of him as a kid. That's where it all falls down. I don't understand where the vampire... I guess the vampire thing comes from because he's clearly not, however old, 80 years old. He's not 80 years old. You can tell that by the way he moves and his looks. So you have to come up with... He's either a ghost, and maybe a ghost is too far, or he's a vampire, because obviously vampires live forever. Also, what is so wrong with being a vampire then? Like, nobody really wants to die. It's not high on anybody's agenda. So if a vampire came up to you in the night and went, mate, do you want to make me a vampire? Sure, what are you going to do? Suck all the blood out of you and you can live forever. Isn't that a pretty good deal? Because what's the one problem is you've got to suck other people's blood, but I think you could get people on board. Angel did it from the Buffy the Vampire series. But also, you can't go out in the day. It's 2019, man. The world never sleeps. The world never stops. You can be a night owl and get on. Quick shout out to Ibanai, who says that Stargate was awesome and it was sacrilege for me to insult it. Hey, look, the fact we're still talking about Stargate proved it had an audience. But I don't see the problem with being a vampire. I really, really don't. If I could vampire up, maybe I would choose it. I know it's a bit risky because people are going to be scared of you. People are going to be trying to stick stakes through your heart. And obviously, if you do go out in the sun, you'll die. But Blade figured it out. You know, half human, half vampire, and he was able to go around and did it. So yeah, I don't know why vampires have such a bad rap. Seems unfair. Last one on my list just cracks me up because I don't understand the logistics, and that's that dinosaurs built the pyramids. Have you seen a T-Rex? How would a T-Rex be able to build anything? A T-Rex is basically like a kid with his little arms and his little stumpy legs. It's massive, and it can run really fast for its size. But there's no way that it's getting involved in construction. If I ran my own construction company and I knew I was building upwards and I was building tall structures, the last thing I would do was try and hire someone that had small stumpy arms. If they were good at what they did, I would, but that wouldn't be in the back of my mind of what I deemed to be a good person to build things with, a good architect, if you will. Also, how did they get on? Was a Bronchosaurus and a T-Rex hanging out? Mate, that one's not triangle enough. And does that mean they built the Sphinx? I don't think the dinosaurs built shit. I think the dinosaurs were roaming around millions of years ago. And then there's conspiracy theories about that the dinosaurs didn't exist. But yeah, they were rocking around millions of years ago. And what? They got bored? And the raptors and the T-Rex and the Bronchosaurus and Velociraptor. I've said them already. I can't even think of dinosaurs now. Whatever. All the dinosaurs got together and they just built some gold shit in Egypt. Pyramids were built by slaves. That pyramids. That's how it works. And the reason everyone goes, "Oh, how did they build them?" Because they were built on human sacrifice and human lives. If you throw enough human bodies at anything, you will get the job done because you're sacrificing a lot of people. It's like called Stalingrad in World War II. If you throw enough human bodies and a human life at a problem, eventually you will solve it. However, you've created a much, much worse problem because you killed a lot of people in the process. We shouldn't be putting that on the dinosaurs. Dinosaurs. Also, why wasn't that a Jurassic Park one? Look, we've had loads of Jurassic Park movies. I can think of 6 off the top of my head. You trying to tell me out of all those movies, on the next one, at least one wouldn't have been about that if they thought there was a credence of evidence for it? Saying that in the last one, we were treating velociraptors like they were dogs. So maybe we could do that anyway, regardless. But I don't buy into that. Surprisingly, I don't buy into that at all. I don't believe the dinosaurs built the pyramid. I don't believe any of them, for the record. I don't believe the moon landing was fake. I don't believe the Beatles were a bunch of actors. I don't think Barack Obama can control the weather. I don't think the Earth is flat. I'm saying all this for the record. I know Saddam Hussein didn't have a Stargate. I don't think Jay-Z is a traveling vampire. And I don't think the dinosaur built the pyramids. These are the things that I think, and I stand by them. I would genuinely one day like to have a conversation, though, with someone that was properly into this. Like, properly into it and felt like they had genuine facts to try and throw me off my game. I'd love that, because what if they did? What if they talked me round? And I'm like, oh no, like it's real. Then what would I do with them? Because everything then that I knew, like there's another one that NASA knows about a second sun, right? There's 2 suns that light and heat our planet, but NASA's hidden it from us. Now, how they did that, I don't know. Unless there's like a big screen. This ties into the fact that also there's another conspiracy theory that the moon isn't real, which means that NASA, 100% of the time, are not only hiding another sun from us, but there's also some kind of shade or blanket or something that is covering up the other sun. So they're creating a fake moon while covering up the sun. That seems like a lot of work. Also, I think probably since their inception, whenever the hell NASA was, I'm pretty sure hundreds of thousands, at least thousands of people have worked for NASA. And once again, somebody would have mentioned it. Of course, somebody would have mentioned it. That's a fascinating story. You'd be like, look, Jack, you see the moon up there? That's just a digital effect. That ain't real. And Jack would be like, get out of here, Dave. I'm sick of your shit. And he'd take all the drugs he was on and flush them down the loo. Chicken Salad in the super chat. The CIA controlled the weather during Vietnam. It was Operation Popeye. Well, I don't know if that's true or not, but once again, it ties back into my point that Barack Obama didn't control it. And that's kind of all I care about for the sake of this conversation, is that the President of the United States did not control the weather. Unless the weather was him with a hose in his back garden playing with his children, telling them, oh, it's raining. Then, yes, he controlled the weather. But I'd also call that a dad having fun with his family, which is more than perfectly allowed. I think as well, going back to the flat earth thing, I think the flat earth thing is based on the fact that we had an eclipse. And apparently the way the eclipse looked, for some people, wasn't spherical enough. I don't know what that means. But I just remembered that because we were talking about the moon. Muma Blazovic in the super chat says, thoughts on Nurmagomedov? Would you wrestle him? I can never pronounce that guy's name. Nurmagomedov. I know you're talking about. No, I would not. He'd kill me. The guy is crazy. He's like crazy in a good way. He's like a proper. He's a warrior, right? You've seen what he's done. No, there's no way. I mean, like, I'm the first to admit that I like pro wrestling, but in a real fight, if people have got skills, they kick my ass. Of course, they kick my ass. Again, this comes down to not really a conspiracy theory, but this comes down to the other thing where people go like, "Oh, I'm not Brock Lesnar, but Braun Strowman could kick Conor McGregor's ass." No, he couldn't. Conor McGregor would take Braun Strowman down easily because he's a trained fighter. He knows what he's doing. He's a monster. Lanai in the super chat says, what about the astronauts, hand on heart, what about the astronauts who saw aliens on the moon? Did they? I don't know about that one. Although that ties into if you believe in aliens or not. Now, the thing with aliens is, I don't say that I do believe in them, but I also say I don't believe in them either, because I think how big the world is, or the universe is, it's kind of hard to believe that we're the only people here. In fact, that's even more terrifying, really. But at the same time, I don't believe we've had any evidence of them so far. And also, just a cool thing to lie about, isn't it? I saw an alien. Where? On the moon. I mean, it's a really good thing to do, right? Like, I've got a cupboard in my house that nobody goes in because it's just full of junk, and I'm embarrassed by it. But I could go, oh, I've got an alien in there. Can I see it? No, you can't go in there. I mean, that's the old. No one's just going to pop to the moon. Oh, there he is, the alien in the crater. So, I mean, saying it's on the moon is just the ultimate get out of jail free. You can say anything. You can say you saw Pamela Anderson on the moon. I mean, Pamela Anderson can come out and say I've never been to the moon. Oh, you can say Elvis, right? I saw Elvis died and moved to the moon. You can get away with that because only a few people have been to the moon. I think we're about to go back to the moon. I swear I read that. What we're going to do up there, I don't know. Probably like watch Netflix. Something like that. Where am I? I've lost my thing. Ivan in the super chat says, that's ridiculous. The moon controls the tides. I know. This is the problem with a lot of conspiracy theories, is that you do know that would affect this to such a huge degree that I don't believe that it can be true. Some people are saying that they don't think Conor McGregor could beat Braun Strowman. We're not going to get into this. You're allowed to believe whatever you want to believe. Conor McGregor could kill him. I've seen it. I've seen big dudes that have no fighting experience take on dudes 5 times smaller than them. And the smaller guy with all their training knows exactly what to do, how to use people's weights against them, and they end up looking like schmoes. I'm not saying it would definitely happen, because you've always got a puncher's chance. Just my opinion. That's all it is. Someone says, what about the flat earth? How is that not on the list? My friend, we did that earlier. Just because you don't join the live stream in the right amount of time, we've done it. We have done the flat earth. It's over. It's sorted. We've decided it's not real. And people that believe in the flat earth are probably just quite bored and looking for a reason to do it. Chicken Salad says in the super chat, I would hit the aliens with a standing sliced bread. You could do that, but not if they're coming out of Saddam Hussein's Stargate. You can't, because you're meant to be introducing them to the world and being nice. So you've got to be kind to them. So you absolutely cannot do that. You wouldn't meet a new friend or a potential new friend and give them a sliced bread or a pile driver or a suplex. You've got to be nice. You've got to treat the aliens nice. How did Saddam Hussein even... That's the one. If someone said, Simon, you can pick anybody that believes in one conspiracy theory to have a 10-minute conversation with, it would be Saddam Hussein has a Stargate. A Stargate. Imagine Michael Jackson is still alive as well. He'd be pissed that documentary came out. How difficult that would be not to pop your head up above the parapet and be like, wait a minute, what? Can you stop running my name through the ground, please? I'm still here. And he'd be like, oh, I did it. I exposed myself and now everyone else, You'd be so sad. You'd be so devastated. The whole Jackson would be like, Michael, what the flip did you do that for? We buried you to make loads of money out of your back catalogue. And he'd be like, I know, I didn't mean to do it. Because Mickey Mouse, apparently. So, that's... anyway, that's my conspiracy theories. If you've got any you want to talk about, jump in the chat right now and we'll talk about them. But they're always fascinating. Some are a bit on the nose. Like, we mentioned the 9/11 one earlier. That's... Saddam Hussein having I know Saddam Hussein was a dictator and he killed a load of people, but the 9/11 one is a bit more impactful. I always find it hard when people do that. But look, you're allowed to do whatever you want. It's free speech is important. But it's certainly lost on me. There's another one, that an airport in somewhere in America, Delaware or something like that, has this statue that apparently is meant to be where hell is situated. And that the devil built this statue. That kind of stuff is just like, whoa, how did we even get here? Where did it even start? Like, when you have something happen in the world, like JFK being shot or a tragedy, you kind of understand people trying to fathom, or maybe this happened or maybe that happened. But when you just see a statue and you go, yeah, that's where hell is, and that the devil made that, it's a bit like, I think you need to leave. Of course, there is another one that the royal family are all lizards as well. That's one that makes no sense. The royal family are all lizards. Unless you saw a lizard get into their human suit and zip up the back, the royal family aren't lizards. Like, how does that work? Is that with Meghan and Harry? Does Harry have to go up to him and go, "Are you a lizard?" She goes, "Yep." Because if she's not, that may still be live. Don't know. Trying to figure it out. Trying to figure out what the hell is going on with YouTube. I don't really want to keep talking if I'm not there. That'd be straight up ridiculous. Let's get the phone. We'll get the phone. We'll try and figure it out this way. Phone is activated. This is bad for a podcast, isn't it? Here's the problem with tech issues. Is my volume down? Oh, apparently I'm still live. All right, I can't see anything. I can't see the chat. I can't see nothing. For some reason, my entire system has crashed. In fact, to the point it's crashed so bad, we may have to end the podcast because I can't see anything. How strange. How strange. I have no idea what happened there. Oh my gosh, it's because we're talking about conspiracy theories. That's what it is. That's what it is. People come. What was the last one that I said? Oh, I can't remember now. Whatever the last one I said, that is the conspiracy theory that's real. I hope I didn't say anything bad. I can't remember what the last one was. It escapes my brain. Anyway, we'll wrap it up. Again, 50 years since we landed on the moon in a couple of months, a couple of weeks. Incredible achievement, I think. Whether or not it had any poignancy is going to be up to you. But, that's where we are. 50 years. There's a movie coming out about it. Just talk about your favorite conspiracy theories. Really, I just wanted to talk about it today. That's what these podcasts are all about. These podcasts, I like to ramble for half an hour, 40 minutes or so. Sometimes we'll go longer. Sometimes we'll go less. I'm really waiting for those big moments to happen in life. Like, it was cool, the first one, because we got to talk about the Avengers movie, and that felt like a cultural moment. And I want to talk about more stuff like that. Ever since then, nothing has happened. It's just been a bunch of political bullshit. Donald Trump did this. Boris Johnson did that. Jeremy Hunt did this. Theresa May did that. Helen Merkel did this. It's like, no one wants to talk about that. People want to escape that stuff. I'm talking about, big things that happen. We go, oh, wow. I was going to talk about the Women's World Cup, but there's not much to say. It's just good football, isn't it? No one wants to talk about sport these days. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, let's wrap it up. Again, you can follow all this on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Acast, Player FM, wherever you want to listen to a podcast, I'm there. If you could head over and give me a rating, that always helps. If you're not on YouTube right now, you can do that as well. YouTube.com/MillerReport Come give me a subscribe. All supported by Patreon.com/Simon316. So thank you to all my patrons. I appreciate it. Come give me a follow at Simon Miller316 on both Instagram and Twitter. BigCartel.SimonMiller.com is where the merchandise is. And make sure you hit up the wrestling podcast too. Simon Miller's Pro Wrestling Show. A load of stuff there. I think that's it. The lizard people. It was the lizard people that tried to silence me, wasn't it? The fucking lizard people. Well, listen to me, lizard people. I'm going to kick your ass. I'll talk to you next week. I missed the stop button. I didn't miss the stop button. What flipping happened is, because we crashed, my system has gone down. My system has gone down. I can't find it. The stop button has to load again. What a terrible way to end a podcast. I've been screwed by conspiracy theories.